The Red Monolith. It is what most people see it as. A tower so tall, a structure so large, biblical to even lay eyes on it. A great metal's colossal citadel with kilometer-long crimson banners draped down the sides. The building is named the Marshall Palace, capital building of the Core Crimson God, the KCG. Large military air docks reach out from the upper levels of this godly structure. A lower atmospheric battle fleet always docked at its ports. Battleships larger than some skyscrapers, yet look no larger than birds to the Red Monolith. Going through hundreds of floors past tens of thousands of Capitol Guard military-grade security, a general of great rank stops at the last floor his elevator will take him to. The doors open. Men in KCG uniform await the general, escorting the man deeper, past beautiful internal gardens, great statues of art, almost as if walking through a royal park with lakes and forest in the plenty. Towers around the grand gardens of sharpshooters watch with laser dots fixed on the general's uniform. Nobody speaks a word. Passing through checkpoint upon checkpoint, upstairs with heavy weapon positions, countless scans of ID, fingerprint, voice recognition, and even a brief blood sample test. 2 full hours pass of this vigorous escorting plays out, until finally, down one last hall, the soldiers themselves depart from the general. They do not dare step 1 foot down this hall. Towering guards of supernatural enhanced bodies and armor lined the walls. The general was dwarfed by these unnatural beings watching him. A faint chill ran down his spine, as it always did, walking down this hall. The general finally arrived at one last set of doors. An office, large in scale, designed much like the study, with rows of books and art lining the walls. One desk in the middle of this vacant space stood with papers, whiskey, and a small computer. There was one other in this room, standing beside the red drapes, looking down at the endless city fading into the smog. His poise straight, shoulders back and laxed, his hands loosely together behind him. The general stands near the doors he entered, not approaching closer. He seemed to only be waiting. Then, the man by the window spoke.
Trench General Remus, I hope your travels here was uneventful?
Yes, Grand Marshal Gazillion.
Please, Remus, call me Gauze. We've worked together long enough to at least be friends.
Of course, Gauze, but I wouldn't consider us friends.
Gazillion turns around with a brief smile, moving to take a seat at his desk. He gestures for Remus to do the same. After Remus approaches to do so, Gazillion speaks once more.
Oh, so we're not friends? I'm hurt. If my inner circle is not family, then what can we be?
Family, I would agree. But family doesn't have to like each other. You're paranoid, Gauze, and you seem to have given up on this world already.
Gazillion laughs at the general's critique. Reaching across the desk, he pours himself a glass to drink before replying.
Speaking of hopeless endeavors, how goes the killing fields, Trench General?
We don't call the region that anymore.
Oh?
Bad for morale. It gave the wrong impression to the troops. Trench warfare is about endurance, a war with attrition more than a war with the enemy. Killing fields made it sound too much.
Like how we are losing this war, is that it?
Well, Gauze, that is something only you would be allowed to say.
Yes, Remus, I am the only one we can afford to consider the reality of things.
They both grew silent as Gazillion took another sip from his drink.
Oh, I apologize, Remus. Are you thirsty? Let me provide you a drink.
General Remus nods. thanking Grazilian as he reaches to take a glass from him. They both take another moment to drink. Thunder ripples and echoes outside. Grabbing Grazilian's attention, he turns to it. Standing up with his drink, he walks towards the window again.
Remus, do you know what I was 30 so years ago?
I believe you have spoken of this before, but I do not recall. Apologies.
No, it's quite all right. There is nothing prophetic of my upbringing. I was a pig farmer. A bad farmer at that. I loved the clever animals and felt such guilt putting them to slaughter. Such animals have greater potential to our use than food production. But I had little choice. I served under the rule of banks, rent, and their laws, and their worship of money.
Something the Red Revolution brought an end to, yes?
Grazilian looked down at his drink. For a moment, as the thunder erupts once more, the light flashes the windows opaque.
That's what I thought. Yet reality is not something anyone can control. I simply changed the regime in control, but no act would stop a regime from ruling our dystopia, our reality. Be it banks, kings, emperors, corporations, there is never a single figure or equal representation. There is always, for our entire existence, a state of small groups governing all. Above all law and reason, attempting to arbitrate all law and reason. I am not a salesman. I do not hide the truth of what my group is and what I do. I am the present regime, and the people deserve to know who governs them. This is the only gift the revolution ever gave them. This is the only gift I could ever provide.
Remus takes another drink.
To be their ruler,
you must enjoy acting as the clueless fool.
I enjoy it not assuming nor acting outside my place.
Grazilian smirked to what Remus remarked. He turns to walk towards his desk once more.
I see why you rose in the ranks so well. Very clever, very honest. However, no, my gift wasn't to rule, but to show who is ruling. Something the banks and the regimes of old like to hide from the people. Not that it matters much anymore. This bloated city is rising over 1 billion by now. More bodies exponentially growing. Our supplies exponentially dwindling. The encroaching death of this Hydra swarm. Oh, how enthralling this all is.
Is monologuing something you enjoy?
Yes, Remus. I have yet to meet a leader who didn't enjoy talking.
The room grew silent once more.
A moment ago, you asked me how the war goes. I have to say, it isn't as hopeless as you believe. The greatest conflict of interest that has grown is this lack of understanding the industry and people of this city have towards this war. They do not grasp the danger involved. More terrorist cells are growing out of the city's depths, drawing more of my forces away from our focus.
Grazilian stood quietly, looking upon Remus as he spoke. He turns to his wall of books and aught to think. Walking towards them, he inspects his collection, drink in hand.
Some of my favorite books are in this collection. Some are lost forever. Often when these works of art are made, everyone feels the need to have an opinion, needs to express if it's wrong to partake in or not. The wars we endure are no different. At the time, everyone seemed so focused on it. But then, when it became the norm of our lives, they seemed to forget, moving to the next thing to have an opinion or belief in. Imagine, once something is ignored, it simply disappeared. A hated man erased. The actions of a mob simply never occurred. Such a naive mentality.
Remus leans back in his seat, taking another sip from his drink.
Does this mean we are going to push for the education of the masses? That would be expensive, and personally I don't believe the information would get around fast enough to quell these uprisings.
Grazilian nods as he reaches out to touch the statue amongst his art.
Yes, Remus, you are quite right. The education of more than 1 billion people is unrealistic, not the reality we live in. I would like to start that, though, in city wards that we can feasibly attempt this, but the more densely populated wards of the Grotto Ward and Grand Ward, we will need a different approach. Tell me, what is the name of that fiery figure that was masked? You know who I speak of?
Remus looked towards the ceiling, thinking for a moment, until raising his drink to answer.
I believe the name is Terror Korsk. Gors.
Yes, that was the name. What a fine name. Easy to make the masses fear such a rebel. However, I believe the easiest way to resolve this lack of loyalty is show the people. Show the people what the KCG fight. Let the fool go through with his plan of bombing and begin preparations for the resolution of this terror attack. I do not want much damage, even if it's towards the Grotto Ward.
Gors, may I ask why such an extreme choice?
Grazilian pulled his hand back from the statue, turning once more to Remus. He quietly walked towards him, setting his glass on the desk.
People's idea of reality is distorted. This city, this gluttony of products, industry, and population has distorted how people believe this world works. I remember when I was younger, camping was something I did often. But why? Not because it was a luxury, but a way to ground yourself, to see how much you have in your normal life, how difficult life would be without. Take this Terror Korsk. If they believe doing anything they must to bring their ideas to light, then we will indulge their ways. Show what their choices will result in, how it will ground them in reality. Then they will hate each other, and you will have your support for the war again. They will feel a need to have an opinion again.
Grazilian, standing above Remus, leans towards him to finish his words.
Then, when the panic sets, the KCG will bring order again. Terror Korsk will lose everything, and once more our regime will rule till the world's end.
From outside, the rain grows stronger, and the storm darker. The thunder ripples through the endless city. Dystopia's End. This is an RPG that I created for the entertainment of my friends and my community, which, by the way, you're welcome to join in our Discord link below in the description. Though, due to the fact there's lack of people participating in this little role-playing game I made, I thought out of all these hundreds of characters that I created over the span of months, I would do something with them. And that's what these short stories have become. From the Grand Marshal Grazilian to Nikki, the bounty hunter robot, and Terror Korsk. Every character you meet is a character from this world. They all have their different plans, motives, and interactions, and allies. I plan to continue expanding these stories, but some support would be helpful. I'm not one to suggest people to subscribe and other content support like that. This is something I would love to make more of a job than just a hobby, so anything would work. If you're willing to support the state, buy some state bonds with my Patreon, or subscribe or share my videos. Anything will do. I'd like to make more content, art, stories, and worlds. And it's only through you, people of this dystopia of ours, that can make it so. Good night.